6.
You're sixth grade? Yeah? What's your favorite subject?
Well, I like science,
Good for you. Good for you.
reading, math.
Yeah? What are you studying in science right now that's interesting?
Well, how to connect batteries, dry cells together.
Dry cells and batteries?
Yes.
Yeah.
A child star who once drove all of America crazy. A face that appeared on every newspaper, every primetime TV slot, then suddenly vanished. No goodbye, no trace. No one knew what had happened. No one knew where he went. From the dazzling fame of Webster to the bizarre rumors, a mysterious illness, a vanished fortune, an unbelievable connection with Michael Jackson. Everything surrounding Emmanuel Lewis suddenly became a labyrinth of secrets. The man who never seemed to age. A living legend in the shadows. Did Hollywood hide something? Or did Emmanuel erase himself from the spotlight? This story is unlike anything you've ever heard. So what really happened to Emmanuel Lewis? And why might that truth send chills down your spine? Brooklyn, New York. Amid the cramped and noisy apartment blocks of the 1970s, no one would have thought that this place would give birth to one of America's most beloved television faces. Emmanuel Lewis, the youngest of 4 siblings, lived with his mother, Margaret Lewis, a computer programmer, a resilient woman who raised her children with love and strict discipline. There was no father, no fame, only a small dream to stand on stage. Yet that 5-year-old boy, smaller than the microphone in front of him, carried an energy that could light up the entire room. The opportunity came by chance. A friend of his mother, who worked at a talent management agency, suggested that Margaret take her son to a commercial audition. Emmanuel, only 9 at the time, was both shy and excited. No one expected that first audition would open a path of no return. He was quickly chosen for a series of TV commercials, from Campbell's Soup and Life cereal to Burger King's Whopper, where his bright smile and pure voice caught the attention of the entire nation. Within just a few years, Emmanuel had appeared in more than 50 commercials, becoming a familiar child face on American television. One of them, a Colgate toothpaste ad, was even featured in the blockbuster Splash, a testament to the charm of the little boy from Brooklyn. But destiny truly knocked when an ABC programming executive happened to see the Burger King commercial. He told his production team, "We've just found America's brightest gem." At that time, ABC was developing a new sitcom called Another Ballgame, centered on a married couple. After Emmanuel was cast, everything changed. The script was rewritten entirely to revolve around a small African-American boy adopted by the 2 main characters. The show was renamed Webster, and ABC rushed it into production for one simple but memorable reason: let's film before the boy grows another inch. In September 1983, Webster officially premiered. Emmanuel was only 12 years old, yet on screen he played a 5-year-old orphan. With his 130-meter height-round face and lively eyes, he convincingly portrayed an elementary school child. Webster became a phenomenon within weeks, a sweet storm sweeping across America. Millions of families tuned in every Friday night just to see his smile and innocent charm. During its first 3 seasons, Webster consistently ranked among the top 30 most-watched shows in America, turning Emmanuel Lewis into a true pop culture icon. The Brooklyn boy became a familiar guest on hit talk shows like The Tonight Show and The Phil Donahue Show. In 1984, he received 4 Young Artist Award nominations and 3 People's Choice Award nominations, an achievement few child actors could match. Emmanuel's rise to fame was so fast that his mother always had to be present on set to protect him from over-enthusiastic hugs. Once, when a few crew members lifted Emmanuel up like a toy, Margaret sternly told them to put him down. "He's not a doll. He's an actor," she said. That firmness allowed Emmanuel to grow up in Hollywood while keeping his innocence intact. Behind the scenes, not everything was smooth. At first, the 2 lead actors, Alex Karras and Susan Clark, a real-life couple, were unhappy that the script had been changed to focus on Webster. But soon they became Emmanuel's closest friends. Karras began to treat him like a son, guiding him through every line and camera position. Their affection went beyond the screen, forming a second family that Emmanuel would never forget. The adoration for Webster reached unbelievable heights. Fans surrounded him everywhere he went, from airports to his own doorstep. They brought gifts, wrote letters, even cried when they met him. But fame also brought darker sides. Emmanuel received threats from people who couldn't accept that a black child dominated American television. ABC had to increase his security for this young star who shone so brightly, yet had to learn to live inside the gilded cage of fame. The boy who never grew up. Throughout the years, Webster aired one question puzzled millions of viewers. Why did Emmanuel Lewis never grow? Year after year, he remained as tiny as the day he first appeared. When the show ended in 1989, Emmanuel was already 18, yet on screen he still looked like a first grader. In the pre-internet era, people everywhere speculated newspapers published hundreds of theories, and medical commentators offered their own diagnoses. Some said he suffered from rickets. Others claimed he had a growth hormone disorder. There were even rumors that he carried a rare condition Hollywood wanted to keep secret. The truth, as Emmanuel himself later explained, was completely different. "There's nothing wrong with me," he laughed in an interview. "I'm just small." And indeed, medical examinations throughout his youth confirmed he was perfectly healthy with no pituitary or hormonal abnormalities. Doctors simply told his mother Margaret that her son just wouldn't grow any taller. As an adult, Emmanuel stood at 130 meters tall and weighed around 38 kilograms, making him one of the smallest actors ever to appear on national television. But within that small body lived a remarkable vitality. He wasn't weak or frail, never seemed tired, and required no special treatment. He ate, exercised, and laughed like anyone else, only he never grew. That made him one of a kind in American television history. If Gary Coleman, a child star of the same era, and co-star of Different Strokes, suffered from kidney disease that stunted his growth, Emmanuel was the opposite, perfectly healthy in a strange, almost miraculous way. "There's no medical reason for my height," he once said. "I'm just me, that's it." Experts called it a rare genetic phenomenon, a form of natural growth arrest that causes no harm to health. That very difference became Emmanuel's brand. While his peers outgrew their child roles as their voices changed and their bodies stretched, he could still convincingly play a little boy. Hollywood saw opportunity, but Emmanuel saw a challenge. He would have to live his entire life in the body of a child, even as his mind matured. Many assumed he must have felt insecure, but in truth, Emmanuel embraced it with extraordinary spirit. He once joked, "At least I never have to worry about wrinkles." And indeed, even past age 50, his face barely changed. His cheeks stayed full, his eyes bright, his smile as youthful as 3 decades before. BlackDoctor.org once called him Hollywood's man who never ages, while fans on social media compared him to the real-life Benjamin Button. Behind that eternally youthful appearance was a life of strict discipline. Emmanuel didn't drink or smoke and was passionate about Taekwondo, a surprising hobby for the little Webster. He began training at 15, continued for decades, and eventually earned his black belt. He once said martial arts not only kept him healthy, but taught him calm in the storm of fame. "I learned that true strength isn't in muscles, it's in how you control yourself," he said. At an age when many child stars fell into emotional turmoil, Emmanuel chose to sweat it out on the mat. Taekwondo saved him from fame's pitfalls, giving him discipline, humility, and the belief that size doesn't define worth. Those who met him in person were struck by his energy, confident posture, and warmth. No one sensed insecurity, only humor and joy for life. Despite standing just 1.30 meters tall, Emmanuel once stunned towering security guards by performing a lightning-fast roundhouse kick at a charity event. A reporter described it best. "He moves like a current of electricity, small but impossible to underestimate." That image, a tiny frame carrying immense strength, forever defined Emmanuel Lewis as a symbol of willpower and resilience, vanishing from the spotlight. When Webster ended in 1989, Emmanuel Lewis was only 18, just stepping into adulthood and emerging from a whirlwind of fame. It was a time when every door in Hollywood stood wide open before him. Film offers, commercials, talk shows, game shows, all waiting for America's golden boy. But while other child stars chased fame, Emmanuel did the unthinkable. He disappeared once again, not because he was fired, not because he was forgotten, but because he chose to walk away. He once said, "I didn't want to be remembered only as that Webster kid. I wanted to know who I was when no camera was watching." At the time, such a statement seemed unbelievable. No one turned their back on fame when it was shining so brightly. But Emmanuel did. And that choice saved him from the tragedies Hollywood so often writes as destiny. When Webster went off the air, Emmanuel returned to Brooklyn, lived with his mother, and quietly finished high school at Midwood High, graduating in 1989, the same year he left television. While tabloids speculated that he was hiding from the media, Emmanuel was diligently preparing his college applications. His goal wasn't fame, but knowledge. He applied to Clark Atlanta University, one of the historic black colleges in Georgia, majoring in theater arts. Interestingly, throughout nearly 8 years of study, he only attended the fall semesters because he was still tied to performance contracts and charity work. "I wanted to learn for real, not for image," he said. "If it takes longer than others, I'm fine with that." And he kept his word, graduating in 1997 with a bachelor's degree in theater arts, his pride coming not from paparazzi flashes, but from pure effort. In a rare photo from his graduation day, Emmanuel stands among hundreds of students, towering nearly 2 heads above him, smiling brightly, diploma in hand. It was the image of a man who had once been famous, but now only wanted to live a normal life. Yet in Hollywood, normal is often a luxury. Many of his peers, Gary Coleman, Todd Bridges, Dana Plato, fell into decline scandals, addiction, or bankruptcy. People magazine once wrote, "While other child stars lost their way, Emmanuel Lewis chose to disappear and survived." And it was true. While dozens of bright faces from the 80s turned into cautionary tales, he remained calm. No scandals, no debts, no downfall. Strangely, Emmanuel never saw leaving Hollywood as retirement. He simply chose a different way to live. He didn't cut ties entirely with the entertainment world, occasionally appearing in sitcoms like Family Matters or Moesha, or as a guest on In the House, but only when he truly felt like it. He didn't chase the spotlight. He lit his own path. Friends recalled that during his time in Atlanta, Emmanuel lived so simply that few realized he had once been a national celebrity. He stayed in dorms, cooked for himself, joined student activities like everyone else. Some freshmen who met him thought he was someone's little cousin. Emmanuel just laughed and didn't explain. He wanted to be treated as a student, not as Webster. When asked why he didn't pursue acting professionally again, he replied, "Because I didn't want to get trapped in my own role." A simple answer, but deeply philosophical. He understood that early fame could consume an entire future if one didn't know when to stop. In his 20s, Emmanuel spent much of his time traveling, reading, and practicing martial arts. He often joked, "Hollywood taught me how to act, but college taught me how to live." That's why when people asked, "Do you regret leaving during your golden years?" he simply smiled. "No, I didn't lose anything. I just chose to grow up." And he truly did grow, not in height, but in spirit. In a 2012 interview, Emmanuel said something that touched many hearts. "I saw so many friends drown in the light. They forgot how to live in the dark. I'm different. I learned how to turn the lights off." That is the most shocking truth of this chapter. Emmanuel Lewis, the symbol of an entire generation of child stars, personally extinguished the stage lights to find himself again. Without needing applause, without chasing fame, he chose silence as his armor, knowledge as his compass, and an ordinary life as his ultimate reward. Michael Jackson's little brother. In 1983, at the height of Thriller, the best-selling album in music history, Michael Jackson was the most powerful name on the planet. At the same time, Emmanuel Lewis, the 130-meter-tall boy adored across America, through the sitcom Webster, was the nation's favorite child star. Two worlds that seemed destined never to meet suddenly collided, creating one of the most unusual and fascinating friendships in American entertainment history. They first met at an ABC event in Los Angeles. Michael walked up, smiled gently, bent down to Emmanuel's eye level, and said, "You're Webster, right? I'm a fan of yours." Emmanuel froze. The biggest star in the world had just said he was a fan of a tiny kid from Brooklyn. That was the beginning of a friendship that defied all boundaries, prejudices, and age gaps. Emmanuel was only 12. Michael was 25. But between them, there were no titles like pop icon or child actor, only two kindred souls adrift in a glittering world. They quickly became close. They called, wrote letters, and visited each other often. Michael saw Emmanuel as the little brother he never had, while Emmanuel called Michael the most perfect big brother I've ever known. Michael loved throwing water balloons, watching cartoons, and singing to Emmanuel in the studio. Around Michael, Emmanuel felt protected. Yet ironically, it was Emmanuel who ended up protecting Michael when he needed it most. In January 1984, while filming a Pepsi commercial, Michael Jackson suffered a horrific accident. A pyrotechnic explosion set his hair on fire, causing severe burns to his scalp. The world was shocked. The press hunted for photos and details. Amid the chaos, there was only one place where Michael could find peace: Emmanuel Lewis's home. It was Emmanuel and his mother, Margaret, who visited Michael at the hospital. Seeing him exhausted and surrounded by media, they rescued him by taking him to their small Brooklyn apartment. For several weeks, Michael stayed there with the Lewis family, eating dinner, watching TV, even sleeping in the living room. Emmanuel later recalled, "He never asked for anything. He just wanted to be somewhere people treated him like a normal human being." During that time, they laughed, played games, and talked late into the night. "We became family," Emmanuel said. A rare photo from that period shows Michael wearing a wool cap bandages still on his head, sitting beside Emmanuel, both smiling brightly, as if no wounds existed. For Emmanuel, that image symbolized the purest friendship he had ever known. But the media spotlight never sleeps. When Michael was accused of child abuse in the 1990s, Emmanuel's name was suddenly dragged into the controversy. Tabloids screamed, "Was Webster the child star?" One of the victims, Emmanuel, initially stayed silent, but soon spoke out firmly and clearly, "I was never a victim. Michael never did anything wrong to me. He was the kindest person I've ever known." He emphasized that Michael treated him like a true younger brother, without manipulation or hidden motives. In fact, when the trial erupted, Emmanuel voluntarily contacted Michael's lawyers and offered to testify on his behalf. "They want to paint a monster, but I know he's an angel," Emmanuel said. The defense team, however, decided not to call him to the stand, fearing public speculation about their relationship would only grow worse. In the years that followed, Emmanuel never wavered. He didn't dodge questions or shift his tone with public opinion. In a 2005 interview, he looked straight into the camera and said Michael might have been different, but he was never evil. The studio fell silent. Their friendship lasted until Michael's death in 2009. Emmanuel was among the first to issue a public tribute writing on social media. "I lost my brother, my teacher, my friend. No one truly understood Michael except those who saw him smile, and I saw that more than anyone." After the funeral, Emmanuel rarely gave interviews again. He chose silence, as if protecting a private space for his departed brother. To this day, when he speaks of Michael, his voice softens like a whisper. He was the only person who could be both a superstar and a child. Maybe that's why we found each other. Old photos of them hand in hand on the red carpet appearing together at the 1984 Grammys, or the moment Michael lifted Emmanuel in front of flashing cameras still astonish viewers. They represent more than friendship. They capture the meeting of two worlds, a man wounded by fame and a boy who already knew how lonely stardom could be. Amid rumors, noise, and court battles, Emmanuel Lewis has held fast to one truth. Their friendship was real, pure, and more beautiful than any story Hollywood could ever write. For if Michael Jackson was the king of pop, then in his heart, Emmanuel Lewis would forever remain the little brother the world could never replace. Becoming a J-pop idol in Japan. It all began in 1981, when Emmanuel was only 10 years old, before he ever appeared on Webster. During a trip to Tokyo for an advertising event, a Japanese music producer happened to notice the small, bright-eyed African-American boy smiling radiantly for the camera. "There's something magical about this kid," he said. A few months later, Tokuma Japan Communications officially invited Emmanuel to record a test single. The song, titled City Connection, was an upbeat, playful pop track, bursting with youthful energy, released later that year. No one expected it to become a sensation. Within 2 weeks, City Connection soared to number 2 on the Oricon charts, Japan's most prestigious music ranking, second only to a song by Seiko Matsuda, the reigning queen of J-pop. The tiny American boy Emmanuel Lewis had suddenly become an international idol in the eyes of Japanese fans. The single sold over 200,000 copies, an impressive number for a foreign artist at the time. Its cheerful melody, bouncy dance moves, and the image of a tiny boy in a suit holding an oversized microphone melted hearts across Japan. The media dubbed him the Mini Miracle Boy, while female fans lined up outside TV studios hoping for his autograph. Thanks to that unexpected success, Emmanuel was invited to Japan to perform in a special NHK program. His first concert at Tokyo Dome before more than 10,000 people was a moment he never forgot. He walked out bowed, and the entire arena erupted. "I didn't understand everything they said," Emmanuel recalled, "but I knew they were loving me with all their hearts." His popularity grew so much that Japanese filmmakers invited him to star in a joint international TV project called Samurai in New York, a comedy about a samurai lost in America who befriends a small black boy. Premiering in 1987, the show became a hit in Japan and solidified Emmanuel's image as a friendly ambassador between two cultures. Interestingly, in the US, he was still filming Webster for ABC, meaning that in the same year, Emmanuel lived two lives: by day, a sitcom star in America; by night, a J-pop singer performing in Tokyo. "When people in Los Angeles were sleeping, I was singing in Japan." He laughed. The press dubbed him the boy with two suns, one shining in the west, the other blazing in the east. The Japanese adored Emmanuel, seeing him as the embodiment of kawaii pure cuteness. In Japanese culture, small round innocent figures evoke joy and a sense of protection. Emmanuel, with his childlike smile and forever youthful face, fit perfectly into that ideal. Teen magazines like Myojo and Popolo frequently featured him, and toy companies released mini Emmanuel dolls dressed in red suits and holding microphones. Beyond music, Emmanuel appeared on countless Japanese TV shows, from game shows and talk programs to New Year specials. A 1985 NHK clip captured him speaking fluent Japanese while introducing himself, astonishing viewers. "Konnichiwa, boku wa Emmanuel Lewis des." "Hello, I'm Emmanuel Lewis." That single phrase made the entire studio erupt in applause. Remarkably, though he never trained professionally in vocals, Emmanuel possessed a clear natural tone and a charming stage presence. Producers described him as a performer, born to make audiences smile. For them, it wasn't about whether he sang perfectly, it was about the happiness he brought. By the mid-1990s, as J-pop entered a new era, Emmanuel continued to appear in nostalgic decade specials. Each time he returned, audiences cheered as if time had stood still. One Japanese host once said, "To us, Emmanuel never grows old. He's the childhood of an entire generation." His career in Japan not only gave him extra income, but also international recognition, something few American child actors ever achieved. More than that, it proved Emmanuel's charm transcended language, race, and culture. Wherever there was a stage light, that little boy always knew how to make the world fall in love with him. Even today, if you walk into a karaoke bar in Tokyo or Osaka, you might still find City Connection in the songbook. And when the music starts, people still laugh with delight, remembering the tiny boy who once made all of Japan dance. A true entrepreneur. When fans thought Emmanuel Lewis had completely left the spotlight, he quietly stepped into another world, a world of numbers, contracts, and responsibility. No longer the little Webster running around studio sets, Emmanuel became a true businessman, leading several companies based in Atlanta, Georgia, the city he chose as his second home. In the early 2000s, while many stars from his era struggled with debt or clung to their past fame, Emmanuel founded Emmanuel Lewis Entertainment Inc., a company focused on artist management, event organization, and media production. His goal was clear: if you don't control the game, someone else will control you. True to his words, his small company not only survived but thrived steadily for over 2 decades. At the same time, Emmanuel owned a limousine and luxury car wash service in Atlanta. He spoke openly about it in an interview: "I used to sit in those fancy cars. Now I want to be behind the wheel, managing them, running them." For him, business was not just about making money, but about cultivating discipline and responsibility. Both of his companies operated under a principle he called reputation is the most lasting currency. Beyond business, Emmanuel also invested in music. He built his own recording studio, where young artists in Georgia could record, produce, and develop their performance skills. Many local musicians affectionately called him Uncle Webster, a mentor who listened and guided them patiently. Emmanuel once said, "Hollywood taught me how to stand in front of a camera. Now it's my turn to teach others how to stand on their own 2 feet." Emmanuel's transition from actor to entrepreneur was quiet and unpretentious, yet remarkably effective. In 2010, he was invited to serve as a leader in the Georgia Music and Film Association, which brings together prominent artists, directors, and producers across the state. There, Emmanuel wasn't just a symbol, he was a bridge between generations, connecting the Hollywood of the 1980s with the rising Southern film industry. Though his income no longer reached the million-dollar level of his Webster days, Emmanuel maintained financial stability. Sources like Celebrity Net Worth estimate his fortune at around $600,000, a modest figure, but one that reflects prudence and resilience. He never chased luxury, took reckless risks, or lived extravagantly. While many former child stars went bankrupt or fell into hardship, Emmanuel chose a safe but steady path. He often credited his mother Margaret for teaching him his first financial lesson: don't count your money, count the opportunities it creates. Thus, every paycheck from commercials or shows was divided into 3 parts: one for savings, one for investment, and one for charity. Quietly, he even funded scholarships for art students at Clark Atlanta University, the same school from which he graduated. From a boy who once made the world laugh to a man standing silently behind balance sheets, Emmanuel Lewis proved that light doesn't always have to come from the stage. Sometimes it shines from a desk, from wise decisions, from building real value, and from living beyond fame. A private yet warm life. In a world where every celebrity lives through social media, Emmanuel Lewis stands as a rare exception. No Twitter, no Instagram, no photos flaunting his home cars or romantic life. Now in his 50s, he has almost vanished from the media's radar, leaving fans with a question that has lingered for decades. What kind of life is Emmanuel Lewis living today? The first thing everyone notices, he has never publicly revealed any romantic relationship. No wife, no children, no scandals. When asked if he's ever been in love, Emmanuel simply smiles and says, "I love many things, music life, and the people who've always been there for me." The press has often speculated that he might have secretly married or fathered a child, but no evidence has ever surfaced. Emmanuel simply chooses silence. And in such a noisy world, silence might just be the bravest act of all. He still lives in Atlanta, in a small suburban home shared with his mother and 2 siblings. Margaret, the woman who once took her son from Brooklyn to Hollywood, remains his greatest source of strength. The two are often seen together at the rare public events he attends, holding hands and smiling softly. Emmanuel once said, "My mother is the real star. I'm just following her light." As she grew older, he devoted much of his time to caring for her, turning down interviews and public appearances. For him, fame has never mattered as much as family. Beyond family, Emmanuel is known for his quiet philanthropy. He is a member of the Prince Hall Freemasons, one of the oldest and most respected African-American fraternal organizations, dedicated to scholarships, disaster relief, and community development. At their gatherings, Emmanuel appears modestly, never seeking recognition, quietly lending a hand. He has donated portions of his income to children's aid programs in Georgia, but always anonymously. "Doing good when no one knows, that's real goodness," he once said. Those who've met him often tell the same story. Emmanuel is introverted, polite, and deeply genuine. He enjoys mornings spent reading brewing coffee and listening to classic jazz. On weekends, he visits his alma mater, Clark Atlanta University, to talk with students or mentor them on career planning. He has such a warm energy, one professor said. He doesn't need to say much. Sitting next to him is already calming. In a rare 2019 interview, Emmanuel said something that touched many hearts. "People always ask why I never started a family. I think it's simple. I already have a wonderful one. They're the reason I wake up every morning and the place I come home to every night. If this story has sparked your curiosity or moved you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the shocking truths hidden behind Hollywood's glittering lights. Every week, we uncover untold secrets about the people who once captivated the entire world. Stay tuned. The next story will surprise you even more than you think.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast.
There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.